How are you?
I love the fact that you're in the driver's seat.
What's that now?
I love that you're in the driver's
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, buckle up. uh, all right, I ain't got a gavel, but I'll do my best to call it to order. And then, Madam Clerk, could I get a roll call?
Council Member Eklund. Is the volume on? The volume on? Oh. Council Member Eklund. No. Council Member Fleming. Oh. Vice Chair Morcillo. Councilmember Joseph. Supervisor Lucan.
Here.
Supervisor Manfrey. Here. Chair Mashburn. Supervisor Moulton Peters. Here. Supervisor Rabbit. Mayor Soares. Here. Supervisor Vasquez. Mayor Washington. Okay, there we go.
All right, I'm just going to consider that a quorum. With that, our second item is our consent calendar. Do we have any public comment on consent? None. All right. Any items on consent that any of the commission would like to speak or committee would like to speak on or have pulled? All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. I'm just going to do a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. That passes. All right, that brings us to our discussion and information items. The first is 3.1 communications. And Bart, you're up, sir. There he is.
Can you hear me? All right. Good morning, everybody. So I'm Bart Ney, the Office Chief of Public Affairs for Caltrans here in the Bay Area, and our State Route 37 Communications Lead. I've got some exciting stuff to share with you guys today. First and foremost, as you all know, the State Route 37 projects and everything going on out there, it's almost like a galaxy. Not only are we looking at a bunch of new projects that we're getting ready to build, but we're also keeping the route open. There's a bunch of different maintenance projects going on. And since the last time we met, we wrapped up our CAP-M project in Novato. So that night work that was closing the route out there is now complete. There are other maintenance projects going on throughout the route, and we can expect that they will come up periodically so that we can keep the route safe as we're doing all this work. But that one is done. The one we really want to talk about today is, man, maybe some of you came through it this morning to get out here, is the new Diverging Diamond Interchange project on Fairgrounds Drive. So we've got a quick film to show you that's going to be going up in our media bar because we're expecting media to cover the alignment change that's going to be happening. Ready for this? Not this weekend, but next weekend. We will have a Diverging Diamond in Vallejo, California. So let's take a quick look. Thanks. Let's take a quick look, Josue, at what the construction looks like.
Construction of the first Bay Area Diverging Diamond Interchange continues in the city of Vallejo. Motorists will soon experience the new configurations crews have been diligently building. Here you can see signs of the shift that will take motorists into the opposite side of the road, where they can safely traverse, either enter the on-ramp to SR37 or continue on to Fairgrounds Drive. Here to your left, you can see as crews start the final stages of building out the pedestrian walkway. When drivers exit State Route 37 towards Fairgrounds Drive, they will do so without signal delay. Construction crews are on schedule. The new lane configuration will go into effect May 15th to Saturday, May 16th. For more information, go to sta.ca.gov.
So thank you, STA, for your leadership on this project. Why is it important? Why are we so excited? It's because this is technically the first construction project that we are completing on the State Route 37 route. Now, while it's not an elevated structure going all the way 21 miles, it's an important link into the Vallejo community. And it's only the second diverging diamond that we've ever built in the state of California, and it's the first that we'll be building here in the Bay Area. It's safer, it's more efficient, and it creates a new portal or gateway to the city of Vallejo, which, being a Vallejo native, I'm pretty excited about. So you're going to see us start to push the media a little bit this week so that we can get them out there. We don't want anybody to have any concerns about the difference in a diverging diamond because it's very easy to navigate. You know what you do? You just watch the lights. Because basically what we've done is we've taken a clover leaf and turned it into a crossing pattern that's controlled. Makes it much smoother, much safer, much more efficient. And so that's the diverging diamond interchange. That's our construction update. A couple of other points on communication, and Josue will get ready to show those graphics. We are actually going to be launching the first State Route 37 newsletter. It's going to be 2 issues per year, kind of set apart from when we do our annual report. This is our effort based on our integrated communications team's communication plan to get regular information out to the public that is not related to legislation, project needs. It's just an update on where we are with State Route 37. So all of the different partners have contributed to this newsletter. We're developing it now. We're hoping to have it out by the end of May. And so with that, those are the communications updates, except for this exciting thing. And I'll tell Jeanette, be ready if there's questions. So MTC has completed a traveler survey that kind of brings us up to date with understanding the public's concerns about State Route 37. You can go ahead and advance the slide. We haven't been out there with one since 2017, 2018, and we wanted to make sure that we were still in the right direction with the public's thoughts. And the key takeaways from the survey are, first and foremost, 2,200 people participated in it. So it's a good representative sample. 87% of those 2,200 regularly use State Route 37. And you see some of the graphics up there right now that more than half of the people that participated commute the route regularly. And the main thing, and I've been wanting to say this for a while, but Jeanette said, no, it's got to go to the policy committee first. So the main thing that we want to report out is that traffic delays are still the main concern from the public, and especially congestion bogging up that first part, like you can see in the picture there. So we wanted to show you a couple of the key components of it. Go ahead, goes away. All right. Can you read that? Because I can't. I'm just going to walk up here. All right. What are your biggest concerns about State Route 37? Well, this one right here, that's congestion. Kind of a big difference. As you go down, roadway quality and maintenance, of course, flooding, one of the main things that we're talking about here, safety, the last kind of smaller ones, public access and recreation. Again, this is in your packet, so you can check it out. But it's really obvious that congestion and delays are the main thing on the public's mind. Go ahead, Josue, what else we got? What's your primary reason for traveling 37? Well, what we probably expected, work, commuting, and then personal leisure time. Not that much in goods and movement or other, but based on this sample size, we really are focusing on workers and commuters. Next. Okay, have you used Fast Track? A lot of folks have used Fast Track, so they are used to this type of program. Next. Okay, are you aware of regional toll transit discount programs? The big bar that you see here is people saying they haven't heard of those programs. So this is an opportunity for us from a communication standpoint to get out there some of the programs like Clipper Start and the Express Lane Start programs. And that's what those other 2 bars are that you see there. Next. Okay, after State Route 37 improvements are built and solo drivers are charged a toll, how might it change your travel? Okay, so this is potentially diversion. The highest bar here says, I would consider taking a detour. So that's over 50%, maybe 55%. The next one down is I would continue to drive alone and pay the toll. So that's a little over 30%. It kind of combines with I'm unsure, right? Well, what they do, the people that are unsure normally just continue doing the same thing. So that is about a little over 20%. So if you combine those two, you're close to 50-50. And then carpool and van pulling and using transit, which isn't quite available yet, are on there at a much lower rate. Okay, what else we got? Okay, so I think that's the slide where I get to say I'm excited about these findings. And I think it's ones that we want to start communicating to the public, that we have been listening, that we're taking opportunities to hear what the main concerns are, and with the main concern still being congestion, we're on the right track with some of the projects that we have in the pipeline. So that's Jeanette, is there anything that you wanted to add to that? Okay. Yes, sir. Oh, here, you got that one?
Oops, sorry. Thanks. Okay. So if half of the people would consider another route, and the most likely route is to go through 29 and around, then there's a concern, obviously, in American Canyon and in any of the 29 people about picking up some of 37's traffic. Is there anything that either addresses the consequence of diversion or discourages diversion through sheer force of will, I guess?
Jeanette Wiseman with MTC. So, am I not on?
Or do I need to?
Spend it down.
Okay. Jeanette Wiseman with MTC. So, Councilmember Joseph, to address your question, I think that's some of the follow-up work that we're going to do to better understand what potential diversion we anticipate further. In addition to the contemplations and these responses, we have submitted a grant to do further analysis, look at the arterials, how their capacity, and what we anticipate the potential additional trips to do, what sort of remediation or mitigation might be needed or helpful. Additionally, we are looking, and as part of our continual toll program development, and Kevin will be sharing an update on that, looking at the different factors to understand what drives these decisions and how we can, with a balanced trade-off, look at keeping people on the route while making sure we get the financing and funding needed for the project. So more work will be done in understanding future diversion and how our decisions on the toll program might influence those decisions. I would add that something that we recognize, which we saw as one of the responses, that people were less likely weren't thinking of carpooling and transit as an option. I know I and many of our team look at that as an opportunity and a need to get additional information out so that those options are more viable and of interest to people. And I think that's another important piece of this puzzle.
Chair. May I comment? So I just wanted to add on Stephanie.
Hold on,
Peters
Stephanie.
Marin. Oh, does this not do it?
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Jeanette, the info that you were putting out sounds really good, and I would think you'd want to also publish the travel times associated with those diversions, because anybody that takes the route that Councilmember Joseph just described is going to spend a whole lot longer getting to the other side. So anyway, just hope you'll promote that info as well.
Yeah, and just to quickly kind of respond, because that's a really good point, Supervisor Moulton Peters, we think that the study will help us better understand through the modeling what the more realistic outcomes would be, because we didn't have all those details in the survey, so people didn't really have the full picture and thing to respond to. So agreed. Any other questions?
So I guess a question for Bart real quickly. The first slide that you showed had that image with the zip codes, which I'm assuming was a word cloud of where the respondents
Yes.
came from.
Yep, that's exactly
so
what
that
it was.
was, yeah, the two big ones were the Vallejo zip codes, which obviously I'm biased, but I see as a good thing because that's probably a lot of the travelers are coming
Right.
from Vallejo and going out west. But I was curious if you looked at the representation of who filled out the survey, and did you feel like it was a pretty accurate representation of the travelers on the corridor?
Yeah, I think that's why we put the word cloud in there, so we could visually communicate that. And then the sample size was pretty good for a survey like
Okay.
this.
But you felt like there was good enough response from each of the counties that we got a decent look at it. And with the diversion, have you been able to disaggregate that by where folks are coming from to see if there are people from a specific location, like Vallejoans that can easily just take 29? Are they more likely to say that they're going to use different routes?
That's a good question, and I don't recall the answer. I'm not sure whether we have that level of detail or the analysis yet, but we can look at that. I'll go back and look at our report. And I would say to your earlier question about representation, while I don't remember each of the counties and their representation, I do remember that the greatest number of respondees was from Solano County, which is our understanding of the travelers and the biggest, users of State Route 37. So we do think it's a reflective survey of people using State Route 37.
Okay, that's good to know. And then, the other question I had is kind of more of a comment, which is just making sure that the public knows that the timing of the toll considerations and the discounts, that there's going to be more work done on that in the coming, months and probably years more likely. But just, reinforcing the importance of having some ability to give input into that, particularly the amount of the toll. My economics professor had, I'm like, you put the toll at the right level, people will still take the road. You make it too high, everyone will divert. Just making sure that we'll have time and space to have those conversations before the decisions are made.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. We have several years, and we will say a little bit more about that, but several years until the toll program would be implemented, and it wouldn't occur until the improvements are completed.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, to wrap up with communications, as we're moving forward, we're going to be developing communications plans. We have construction projects that are on their way that are going to have more robust communication around them. We do have experience with closing State Route 37 in the past and seeing the diversion that actually occurs, and we'll be communicating directly to the people that are using the route and the communities that are affected by that potential diversion. We'll be bringing that to you guys as we get closer with that work. And I'll wrap up by saying resilient37.org, sponsored by SCTCA, is one of the key places where we're putting information out. Also our Caltrans 37 website. And you're going to see that video and other clips as we head into this as media availability that'll be happening all along, starting today after this with KTVU. With that, that's our update.
Thank you, sir. All right, that brings us to our 3.2, which is the near-term Sears Point to Mare Island improvement, funding, permitting, and scheduling. Kevin. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, members of the Policy Committee. All right, my name is Kevin Chen with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. So I'm here to provide you with an update on the Sears Point to Mare Island Improvement Project. We are getting very close to getting the project ready to list, so getting it ready to advertisement. So for the first work package, I'm going to give you a little bit more information. So next slide, please. Just a quick reminder that for delivery, based on available funding, we are going to deliver the project in 3 phases. The first one is shown in red, mostly involves replacing the Tolley Creek Bridge and some operational improvement in the eastbound direction near the 121 intersection. Phase 2 is really to complete the rest of the eastbound improvement shown in green. And then phase 3, as shown in yellow, is to complete the westbound direction improvements. Again, each of these packages have independent utilities, and they will move forward as we get funding for each of the work package. Next slide, please. You've seen this before, but just to reiterate that there are multiple benefits that we are providing for the project, and specifically for the first work package. First and foremost is congestion relief, and this is specifically for the eastbound direction. We are providing operational improvement by improving the eastbound lane merge, that's just east of the 121 intersection today. If you drive it, the lane merges quickly right after the intersection, and that's really worsening the bottleneck there. So with the operational improvement, we can smooth out the traffic, and then we can get a more efficient traffic flow through the intersection. And therefore, we are expecting to reduce delay times, and reduce congestion also means safety improvements as well, because a lot of the incidents on this corridor are related to congestion. Secondly is resilience. With this first work package, we're replacing the Tulare Creek Bridge. It will be built at a higher elevation, so it will provide more resilience to this corridor, especially on flooding. And then we're also going to be raising the elevation of some of the low spots in this area. Last but not least is also we're going to be really bolstering up the shoulders and really help confine the current roadway prism, if you will, the roadway prism, because there are subsidence out there on this corridor, and by really have this retaining walls and pavement confinement system out there, it can help reduce flooding vulnerability as we continue to work towards the long-term project. Last but not least, the Tulare Creek Bridge replacement really opens up a great opportunity for us to really work with the restoration agencies to enable a lot of the large-scale plan restoration throughout the Tulare Creek area. So that's the ecological benefits that the project will be able to bring, and really demonstrate the partnership that we have with all the resource agencies, that the project will bring not just transportation benefits, but also ecological benefits to this area. Next, please. So I hope this is legible. So at the last meeting, we shared out that the project cost for the first work package is in the order of $190 million, which includes construction capital, construction support, and right-of-way costs as well. And it will include some contingency for construction. At the last meeting, I also shared that we had a gap as of February. We had a $55 million gap to the funding plan. And the good news is that today I'm happy to share out that we have narrowed that funding gap. So between MTC and the North Bay Transportation agencies, we were able to come up with $27.5 million, so about half of the gap. That's available from OBEC 4 funds, SB 170 from Sonoma County Transportation Authority, as well as some STIP funds that we are able to move towards this project. So that leaves us with about $27.5 million that we are currently having conversations with the state, including Caltrans, on how to fully close the funding gap. So that's where we are today. As I said, the $27.5 million from other state fund sources is still in the works, and that's going to be an ongoing conversation. Next slide, please. So we have some of the funding approved between March and April, including SB 170 funds from Sonoma County Transportation Authority, as I mentioned earlier. And then on the MTC side, we've received funding allocation and programming allocation actions in April. That includes the OBEC 4 funding, Regional Measure 3, and STIP funds that we can all put towards this first work package. Now, one of the big milestone coming up is with CTC, the California Transportation Commission, because we are seeking for allocation of LTCAP funds. That's about $50 million. SHOP funds, $21 million, and STIP funds that will need to go through CTC for final approval. That's about $12 million. So we are expecting all of that to happen in June at the CTC Commission. Now, all these allocation requests are really conditional on us being able to fully fund the first work package and for us to be able to award construction contract. So just want to make sure that that's noted. Next, please. And in order for us to be able to complete what's called the ready to list milestone, the RTL, so that's pretty much be able to complete all the pre-construction activities and getting the project ready to advertise. There's a couple, in addition to funding, there's a couple more things we need to do, which is all important. Right away, we are still discussing with SMART on coming up with a construction and maintenance agreement. So that's part of the right-of-way clearance that's required. So that's going to be in the works in the coming weeks. On the permit side, certainly very critical for us to be able to secure the permits before construction. This afternoon, we're going to have a BCDC hearing at the Bay Metro Center to get a vote on permit approval for this project, particularly for this first work package. We also continue to coordinate with agencies on some of the other permits, including CDFW on incidental take, as well as the Army Corps 404. So those permits are also pending, and we do hope to be able to secure them before the end of the month so that we can proceed with RTL. Next, please. So those are the updates for the first work package, and I will also give an update on the second and the third work packages for the rest of the eastbound and westbound improvements. First and foremost, on the design side, we've completed the 65% milestone, but more importantly, we are, with Caltrans being the lead, really working with the CMGC team in order to vet through a range of innovative ideas for us to be able to construct the project more cost effectively. You know, we've just went through this exercise with the first work package with the cost increase. And unfortunately for package one, there's not a lot of time for us to change the design because of the funding constraint, funding deadline constraints. But for package 2 and 3, there's more time for us to really vet through those ideas, and hopefully that can get us to a more cost-effective project that we can move forward with package 2 and 3. So that's going to take some time in the coming months. So that's on the design side, and I do want to also give an update on the tolling side. I think there's some good questions on tolling, as Jeanette has already mentioned. We've got a lot of feedback from the public on tolling, both from throughout the environmental review process as well as recent public engagement. I think we've really heard it loud and clear that there's a lot of public concerns over equity and pricing, and the need to be really fair to the corridor travelers and be able to address the needs of working families. So affordability would definitely is something that we need to account for in our process, and we'll continue to do that. We started to do work on the traffic and revenue side. So traffic and revenue, there's two parts. One is your traffic, what happens to the traffic on Highway 37, and are they going to divert to other routes? The second part is revenue. Revenue is, how much revenue are we expecting to be able to generate from the project, which, working backward, would tell us how much a project we can afford or how much upfront financing we can contribute towards the capital delivery of the projects. So those are the two components of the traffic and revenue analysis. Again, we've kind of started the work, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. I think as Jeanette had mentioned earlier, and questions from members of the policy committee, the question on potential diversions due to tolling with the current toll gantry location that's proposed. Again, we consider additional gantry locations west of 121, for example, or other parts of the highway corridor, in addition to the current proposed location. Maybe that would help with potential diversions. So all those are really great questions. They're really complicated, and we do need more time to vet through them. The toll discount program is also something that we are very mindful about. There are other pilot programs in the region with Clipper Start and Express Lane Start, but we also heard that the 37 corridor for the North Bay folks is got different considerations that we need to account for. So we don't have an answer today, but it's something that we will continue to develop, and we'll continue to reach out to the community, get their feedback as we develop the program in the coming years. I think the good news is that, as Jeanette said, we are not going to start tolling until the eastbound and the westbound improvements are completed. So we are looking at no earlier than 2030 at this point. So we have a few years to work out the details, and a lot more opportunities for us to really engage the public and get their feedback, and hopefully something we can develop over time on a program that works for everybody. And in terms of timing, I mean, for the eastbound improvement, right now we're looking at year 2030, for westbound 2031. But this might be subject to change. I guess it kind of depend on the conversation with the CMGC process on the design side. If there's substantial changes to the design, then we might need to revisit the schedule at that point. I guess I'll just share one thing, kind of like there's questions about potential diversions on Highway 121 and Highway 12. Some of you heard about the closure on Highway 37 earlier this week. On Monday, there was a truck incident that really closed the middle portion of the corridor where there's only one lane, right? Because there's really no good ways for people to get around. So most of the traffic actually diverted to Highway 121 north and then Highway 12 going east. I mean, this is a pretty extreme case, but it kind of shows you the amount of traffic that additional congestion that get created on those routes when 37 is not viable to go east. And the increased congestion on those two routes was very significant on that day. So, I guess kind of reiterates the importance of this project for us to be able to help manage congestion on this corridor, but more importantly, with the project, it would really help with emergency access for situations like what happened on Monday. So just want to mention that. I think that's the last slide. With that, happy to take any questions, and we also have Javier Mandeville from Caltrans.
Okay, so I just wanted to weigh in as an MTC commissioner about the discount tolling, that we're not just mindful of it, we know that it's essential that we figure this out. And so I think you can count on MTC to do their work that Kevin was talking about, to figure out a reasonable toll program that works for the communities here.
Thank you.
I got one question on the June allocation for CTC, because that's quite a bit of money to be allocated there. Are those currently all recommended, those three different funds, or is that still to be determined?
So the LTCAP funds was awarded. The SHOP funds, I think, was what you want to weigh in on the SHOP funds. Yeah, so it's I'm not sure what recommended means, but it's been kind of recommended before, and it's going through the formal approval of allocation, because we need to have the funding allocated before we can go out and advertise.
It's more of a timing thing than a discretionary thing. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yeah, all those funding sources will be on the agenda for the June CTC meeting for approval.
Thank you.
Could you remind me, is the Tole Creek portion of 37 going to be elevated? And if so, how high?
So they will be constructed higher than the current elevation.
Could you?
Around 8 feet.
8 feet?
But what's really keeping us to that maximum is the railroad tracks. We've designed the project so that we match the existing railroad grade to avoid having to redo railroad tracks.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just a question on the financing. So our congressmen for the North Bay are sponsoring a new piece of legislation to support environmental transportation projects. I know MTC was at the press conference with Congressman Garamendi a couple of days ago. Do we have an idea? I know that it takes some time to even see if it passes, but do we have an idea of how that might impact our ability to finance this project?
Yeah, good question. I'm not sure. So I think I'm not sure that there's like specific funding set aside for this project. But Jeanette, do you want to?
Jeanette Wiseman. Yeah, Mayor Source, that's actually focused on the long-term resilience,
Okay.
so it won't apply to this near-term project.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Also, I want to go back to the earlier question about the CTC approval. So sorry, I just want to go back to the earlier question from Supervisor Lucas about the CTC approval. We did submit the request to put the funding on the CTC agenda for the June vote, but they haven't yet reviewed. And also there are pending items, as Kevin listed earlier. Those pending items has to be resolved before the CTC approval, including smart CNM agreement and the permits. Without those, CTC will not consider or vote on the items for the funding. Just want to add that. All right.
Maybe just one follow-up, so I want to make sure. Did I hear 8 feet on the Tole Creek Bridge? That seems much higher than I recall.
In the middle portion, yes.
In the middle portion?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I see no other questions from the board. Do we have any questions from anybody in the audience? Is it relevant to this item, or is it just a general public comment? All right. Is it okay? So is it relevant to item 3.2? Or is it just a general public comment about 37? Is it relevant to this particular item, or is it a general comment on the project? Okay, I'm going to do those at the end. All right. Okay, sir.
For this section that was just covered?
Yes, sir. That's what we're doing right now. Go ahead.
Good morning and welcome to Vallejo. My name is Paul Tice. I live here and I represent the Sierra Club, including its Bay Area-wide Highway 37 working group. We're part of the Napa Solano Working Families Coalition, including environmental and community groups, labor, and elected officials. We want to give a thanks to Bart and the media team for preparing such a clear presentation today for the public. The Sierra Club supports equitable tolling across the entire project, wetlands preservation and restoration, lower pollution through lessened vehicle miles traveled, and well-funded public transportation. We appreciate the interest of some elected officials in a more equitable tolling plan. We support the first phase plans to raise the Tole Creek Bridge, which promises to restore a large area of wetlands habitat due to increased stream flow. We also support the idea of a diamond lane across the entire length of the project from Vallejo to Novato. We also support the inclusion of an area west of Sears Point in the overall plan, because this opens the possibility not only of equitable tolling, but also of capturing more tolls to support public transit, which to our understanding currently is an unfunded mandate for the operational portion. The best solution at present seems to be placing toll gates west of Sears Point. We also understand that tolling must take into account the likelihood of users diverting to alternate routes, as has been explained already. This would increase road congestion and pollution. One way of diminishing this possibility is a robust plan of discounts for low-income and some blue-collar workers, including my next-door neighbor in Vallejo, who is a gardener. As you know, many workers, including my neighbor, bring their tools with them or have to move from site to site during their working day, prohibiting their using public transit. A discount for them would not only be fair, but would diminish the possibility of their choosing alternate routes. Thank you for considering my views.
All right, thank you, sir. With that, we'll close public comment on that item. Oh, we got one more. All right, go ahead, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing our comments today, and welcome also to Vallejo. Glenn Lovall, Executive Director of the Napa Solano Central Labor Council, also a coalition partner in the Napa and Solano Working Families Coalitions, a coalition of unions, environmental groups, housing advocates, and other social justice and community groups in favor of sustainable and inclusive growth. I want to echo the great comments made by our partners in the environmental movement just prior to me about our commitment toward a clearly properly mitigating the environmental impact of this project, as well as realizing a form of this project that is most beneficial to workers and working class communities alike. With full understanding of the funding needs on this project, we do absolutely assert and ask that the tolling equity issue be put forward, that you have this tolling on the most western segments of the project. We know that there is disproportionate working class people coming out of Solano County. And of course, we do want to make sure that we are properly contributing to this effort while making sure that it's fairly distributed for the many commuting workers across the North Bay area. We're also very much in favor of these targeted tolling discounts or related programs to avoid these diversions that we know undermine both the climate and the equity dimensions of the project, but are rather in service to them, as stated before, targeted toward lower income workers, as well as into blue collar workers, such as in construction, that by their nature entail a lot of commute, but wanting to make sure that their costs are shared fairly and that they are making use of this modernized and expanded route. Great appreciation, of course, to a number of our local agencies, as well as select members of the CTC and our state level electeds for general interest in this and for engaging on how we can move these issues forward. Once again, our coalitions are ready to partner and find a way forward for pulling together the funding to make this project work out alike for working class people and for our climate goals. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you. All right, now I'm seeing no more.
Excuse me, Chair. There's
Yes,
public comment online.
Oh, we have online comment.
Yeah.
All righty then.
Am I able to speak?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Kate Powers. I didn't get the signal to speak, so I hope you can hear me. My name is Kate Powers. I'm with Marine Conservation League, and my comment is that during the different packages for construction and coordinating with the team on innovative ideas to reduce the project costs, I hope the project components can also be considered project components that not only reduce costs, but also future environmental impacts, so that any project components that can be used in the ultimate causeway project and cause less environmental impacts. I hope those will be incorporated in the future phases as they go, as they go through the process. Thank you.
All right. Any more online? No more online. All right, go ahead, sir. We're off the rails anyway.
Good morning. I'm trying to understand how the demand assumptions for 37 hold up under the same sea level rise this project is designed for. Will today's traffic still be there at those levels? Using Vallejo as one example, my understanding is that the Vallejo wastewater treatment plant becomes seriously challenged at roughly the same order of rise. So my question is, if a system like wastewater is impaired or intermittently non-operational at those levels, what does that do to traffic demand coming onto State Road 37?
Any of our technical folks want to answer that?
So basically without wastewater, Vallejo's in big trouble, and the same applies for other surrounding cities. Again, it's just the assumptions that are being used here directly, just not changing anything, just including surrounding areas, infrastructure impact, same sea level rise.
Okay, if we can grab that one on the fly. It sounds like the question is about sea level rise impacting the wastewater plant for the city of Vallejo, and then the ramifications of that affecting the freeway. And I think it's fair to say that we haven't studied that directly yet. I'll just ask any of our project managers if there's anything technical that you'd want to add related to that.
That's correct. Jeanette Wiseman with MTC. But I would say that this issue is inherently a challenge. Wastewater treatment plants around the bay, as I think many of us know, they are strategically placed in low-lying areas. That's how they're flowing. And so it's a challenge for the full Bay Area. In our coordination with localities, we don't have any inclination or expectation that cities or populations will be diminished as a result. I think the understanding is these facilities will be adjusted. So our estimate of future travel demand really is more in the hands of experts like Kevin Chen and the coordination with other travel demand models. But we will be working certainly with cities and municipalities to address all of these key infrastructure pieces to keep our bay-wide cities running and thriving with sea level rise in mind.
Well, regarding that, a couple of years ago, I had an extended conversation with the head engineer at Vallejo Wastewater and brought up sea level rise. And he admitted that just a couple of feet would take the plant offline. And that's just generally true around the whole Bay Area. And that's non-trivial. At the time, I urged him to get in line for replacing the wastewater plant and redoing the sewage system in Vallejo. And I assume it would be pretty much the same elsewhere. And at that, he just gave up. He said, well, the bigger cities are going to get all the federal dollars first. And now we even wonder if we have federal dollars at all. So it's a problem, I think, that deserves a lot of homework and reconsideration. It's just a bigger problem than just raising 37, because any of this wastewater problem is going to decrease traffic, if nothing else, because people will be fleeing the area by necessity. A failed wastewater plant means that your neighbor's flush ends up in your living room. It's not pretty. And so it's going to be a serious problem to address with just the amount of sea level you're projecting for 37.
All right. Thank you, sir.
So Caltrans PIO will work with the questioner and involve the City of Vallejo's PIO as needed.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, oh, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but in regard to the last questioner's comments, BCDC's afternoon meeting today. Okay, he's not listening. Sir, the one that just spoke? I just wanted you to know that at BCDC's meeting this afternoon at 1 o'clock, they will have a report out on the regional shoreline adaptation planning work going around the Bay Area. So you might want to tune in and just get an update on yeah, it is, bcdc.ca.gov. But anyway, that's where this kind of holistic planning is coming from, and different communities are opting in to do it over time. Is there a dependency relationship if something comes up from that order to change Why don't you and I talk after the meeting's over? I'd
You
be
know,
happy to.
I cannot hear the conversation, so I think if someone is going to be answering the questions, we need to hear the question itself. So it's, some of us can't hear it.
Understood. And I think this one goes a little bit beyond State Route 37 Policy Committee. So Caltrans Public Information will take the lead working with the gentleman and then involve Ms. Eklund, you as well. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. With that, I'm going to close public comment on everything. Apparently, we went off the rails and did everything. And that'll bring us back to 3.3, which is the Novato Creek Bridge replacement.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, everyone. My name is Javier Mendeville. I'm with Caltrans Project Management. And shifting gears over to Marin County on the other side of the corridor, I'm going to be covering an update on the Novato Creek Bridge replacement. So just a reminder, everybody, this is our first phase of the long-term project. The purpose is to address sea level rise and recurring flooding to projected year 2130 by elevating the existing bridge on elevated causeway. Next slide, please. All right, so here's a quick overview of our funding sources. We have all kinds of different funds. We have IIJA funds, as well as state SHOP funds. Big thank you to Senator McGuire for funding our design phase through Assembly Bill 179. And then we have regional Measure 3 funds from the locals. Next slide, please. All right, and here's our schedule. We are just about to finish design. We're on target for achieving our 100% design milestone this month. There's still going to be a couple of hurdles to get through. Similar to the previous projects, Sears Point to Murray Island Package 1, we have CDFW and the Army Corps 404 permit that are both pending. And then we also we've received relocation plans from PG&E. They've been engaging us pretty well, so we're on track to getting their poles out of the way so that we could start construction. Our begin construction should hold. We're still expecting to start construction by 2027, even with the permits coming in a little later than expected. Here's a list of our permits. So the first one on the list is probably going to be the one with the critical path. So that's the long lead permit, that 404 by the Army Corps. We've received our 401 permit from the Water Board, so big thank you to them. And then just below that are the 1600 and the ITP permits from CDFW that we're still working with CDFW on. Our team is in close coordination with them, so we're providing them with everything they need as soon as they request it to ensure timely permit issuance. Or let me just cover that last one. For the biological opinion, this is for Section 7 consultation. We received the one from NIMS. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife one is expected to come in any day now, so hopefully we'll get that this week to conclude Section 7 consultation. And I'll take any questions.
Sure.
As we approach final design, will there be an opportunity for this body, maybe at the next meeting, to get just a real high-level overview of that final design?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Question on the biological opinions. So what was DIMP's response?
They issued it back in April, if I'm not mistaken. So.
And what was their opinion?
We could provide you with the permit if you'd like. It's
okay,
it's
that'd
lengthy.
be great.
Sure.
And what do you expect the Fish and Wildlife?
We're expecting it sometime this week.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I see no more questions from the board.
It's fish.
So, thank you, sir.
There's a public comment online.
Pardon me?
There's a public comment online.
Oh, yeah, there ain't no public comment. We already did it. We're done. Yeah.
I know.
All right, that takes us to 3.4,
Thank you, Chair.
innovative project delivery.
I worked with them. They issue whether or not there's going to be elimination of species. So I have no idea what they're.
Jeanette Wiseman with MTC. Okay, so I have a fun cap off of this meeting, I believe. So I know particularly I think in some of our recent meetings, there's been some ideas kind of bandied about how are we going to get this work done? How do we get the big dollars that we need for our mega projects? So I get to tell you a little bit about some of the work that we've recently completed on innovative project delivery. It's focused on the long-term sea level rise project. So noting that Javier just reported out on the Novato Creek Bridge replacement, which is phase 1 of our first long-term sea level rise project. And we have 8 in total, and a phase 2 of that project that we need to do. The PEL, the Planning and Environmental Linkages, in 2022 estimated that in $22, an outer range of approximately $11 billion would be needed just for construction to deliver the long-term projects. So we realize we've got a lot to do, but really have a lot of motivation and a great team collaborating to keep State Route 37 functioning, and then to open up the San Pablo Baylands for habitat restoration. So in 2022, MTC was awarded a Regional Infrastructure Accelerator grant from USDOT. We've mentioned it a few times, but now we've wrapped up that work this past January. And part of the work that we were funded was to do an analysis on project delivery, how we might use alternative approaches, learn from existing programs to get this work done. Next slide. We pulled in Ernst & Young and their team of consultants to lead this work. They conducted, in part, an international market sounding, and the idea there was to learn from the big coastal resilience programs that are doing this hard work, that had a history and experience that we could and should learn from. And so what I have here is the process that we undertook as part of the market sounding. Started off with a broad list of projects that they reviewed and trying to figure out like relevance to State Route 37, the Resilient 37 program, operationally, governance-wise, and then they zeroed in on particular projects to engage more closely with their management and meet with to better understand the value of their lessons learned and how we might apply it towards State Route 37. Next slide. So here's just an overview of some of the project case studies, what they were looking at, and I'm sorry, it's not very clear, but hopefully you can look at it in your own slides and your handouts. They were looking at size, so mega projects, because we are having to look at big dollars to fund this project, and we can't depend on the standard funding mechanisms that Javier and Kevin have referred to in their presentations. We really need to look more broadly and innovatively to figure out how we stitch this together and make it work. So looking at projects and programs that have had to do that themselves, looking at the key element of coastal resilience, since that is at the core of what we're doing. Tolling is an aspect of our program to deliver local funds and matching towards grants. So we were looking for other programs that utilize that as part of their project delivery. And then did they use innovative construction or technology to find efficiencies to do a better project, at a lower cost or more quickly? and also looking at the finance aspect of it. You know, can we bring in additional dollars through outside sources? So what's ringing the chart here are some of the different projects that the Ernst & Young team looked into. Many of them were in Europe, you know, looking at the Netherlands, also in England, and I think those were the primary areas because this is where they've had, you know, they've got great knowledge and have some decade-old programs that they've already developed and are still working on. Next slide. So the Ernst & Young team chose the Fixed Link program to go and engage with. That was out of Copenhagen. And so they actually went there and met with the leads on that program, the CEO and the director, and went and walked the sites to really have the conversation, dig deeper, and see what, you know, specific information that they've learned and might, you know, point us to. Number of points listed here on this slide. I would point out, you know, some of the key takeaways were the importance of doing our homework, looking at it at scale, and through that, really trying to minimize the risks of stopping and pivoting because we hadn't really thought out this process for this particular location on the bay with the complexities that that entails. So I'll point to kind of center of the slide, really understanding as early as possible some of the key constraints, the geotechnical considerations that are going to dictate the strategy of construction, what sort of design feature is needed, and getting the right people on board to address it. Similarly, our environmental constraints and context are really critical when we have, you know, this very sensitive marsh habitat with existing restoration lands. Having the conversation early and continually to understand how land management is happening in proximity to our program and should work into our thinking is going to be so important, both for establishing good relationships and collaborations with those adjacent landowners and really looking for opportunities for our delivery. Something else I thought was really interesting that we'll be looking to work with Caltrans further on and evaluating is the idea of the kind of efficiency through modular construction and trying to see where and how we might save money by planning out and setting up, you know, these constituent elements, you know, be it sections of the bridge, more efficiently. So I think, you know, with the PEL, the Planning Environmental Linkages, setting us up in 2022 with a vision, we'll still be refining it project by project, but to the degree that we can plan and understand where we're going and set that up, we can potentially realize some very significant cost savings. And then maybe the last item I want to point out is this concept of the public-private partnership for innovative financing and delivery. It's something that is very interesting. It also may or may not apply and be appropriate to our program, but we definitely wanted to look into it. So next slide. So compared to the P3 public-private partnership, we just want to acknowledge that a traditional project delivery in the way that Caltrans typically will run, design, build, and contract their project is definitely an option. But one of the things that we have to consider with that is whether we lose out or miss out on some opportunities when we go to a P3 or public-private partnership, which would require legal legislative authority, I want to be clear, in California, that would be a necessary step for us if we were to go that route. You do have the potential benefits, if there is affinity or alignment, of sharing or really passing off the risk around funding, getting the private entity pulled in and on board and taking on some of that financial risks and funding responsibilities. So it's something that, where we landed is we should look into it further. And we recognize that, as you are in the public domain, we have some more safeties around costs. And then we also have the risks of being able to deliver it as quickly as we need, and we recognize that the time is ticking on that. So just pointing off to the side, apologies, it's not very clear, probably from where some of you are looking at, but what we're showing here is that issue around risk and how that moves from the more traditional public sector domain, that typical project delivery model where you have Caltrans designing or whoever it might be, designing the project, putting out to bid, and then having a contractor build it. You can change that in a number of ways, and that can go all the way to the far end, where you have a private entity that is working and part of the project at the design, the build, and also the operation and maintenance stage. And operation and maintenance is a growing, I think, consideration for how to actually set up and carry out these projects in a fiscally responsible manner in a way that our partners are comfortable with. So it's just something to think about it. One of the benefits of that operations and maintenance far private scenario is that issue of risk transfer. However we do it, the reality is for concessionaires and for the role of financing and funding, we'll probably be limited to tolling. So tolling will only be a small portion of covering the bigger project costs. So that is just a reality, and whether we want that to be in the private domain, maybe not. So this is early days on these considerations, but I know it's something that a lot of us are thinking about as we look to actually getting this done and really coming up with a clear vision of that process. So we're going to be continuing to do this work and to report out to the policy committee and the public as we come up with additional ideas and considerations. That's it.
Sure. Thank you for this. I'm curious, is the team from Ernst & Young that did this work, are they here?
They're not. Their contract ended, but I bet they would be interested in joining if there is or was an interest in delving deeper into their findings. So it is something that I'm definitely willing to, in fact, they have offered it up if your interest or the group is interest to speaking with them and getting deeper into the effort.
Yeah, well, I think it's phenomenal, the projects they looked at. I'm not going to pronounce this one right, and maybe it's one they did look at, but the Rogfast in Norway, that's one that's pretty interesting because it's a 17-mile stretch comparative to 21 miles, and when it's complete, it's going to be the world's longest underwater tunnel, 17 miles, and they're doing it for $2.4 billion. Which is fascinating, and I really would love to learn more about how are they pulling that off. So I think just looking at these different case studies is the right approach, and hopefully there's something we could learn. Certainly if you're comparing $11 billion to $10 billion, okay, not a lot there, but if they truly are able to construct that for 2.4, I think there could be a lot of learnings there, and I'm sure it probably popped up in their analysis, and would love to just learn more as a group about that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I share Supervisor Lucan's opinion. And also, I'd like to also get some more information about the profit side of it as well. Because obviously, if it's going to be built by private industry, there's going to be a profit part of that. And I think that the public needs to also have that understanding as well.
Yes, great.
All right, I see no other, oh, there we go.
Yeah, I would probably echo everyone's remarks. I think it would be worthwhile to look at some of these case studies to find out what we can, what we can take from it. As to the public-private partnership, I tend to agree with Councilperson Eklund. Sometimes we kind of fantasize that the private sector can do things cheaper, and generally, it just means they don't have to go through the same constraints that the public sector has. Right. But sometimes those constraints are worthwhile as well. And so I think a lot of times the public sector can do it just as effectively. They simply have to focus on being efficient and focused, frankly. That doesn't always happen. And a lot of the equity elements that we're hearing from the community are almost directly at conflict with the need to get a reasonable return, which is the price you pay when you have the private sector theoretically doing it quicker, faster, better, and all that. So I like the idea of seeing what we can find out from other big projects, what we can do better. I'm a little skeptical on the public-private partnership.
All right, I don't see any other green lights. I think you're off the hook. That brings us to the public comment for items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody online? No? Anybody in the room?
There's one online.
Okay.
Chair, there is one
We do
online.
have one.
He just raised his hand.
Oh, all righty then. Well, we'll let Councilmember Gordon have the mic first.
Okay.
We can bring the mic to you. Why don't we just grab that mic and
yeah.
bring it over there? There you go. No, I get it. I got to hit your mic idiot too.
Thank you so much. I want to say thank you for this wonderful information. We do have a concern. Sorry, I'm Councilwoman Gordon. I represent District 6 here in Vallejo. We do have a concern. We love the fact that you have these wonderful conversations here, but because this also affects Vallejo, we're asking that we have this also within the city of Vallejo. For example, at the Norman Keene Center in South Vallejo, Magazine and Cherry, and maybe another entity in another district, because like I said, we get hit on both Highway 80 and now considering Highway 37. So I think that the community needs to be aware and better prepare for this type of information and the buy-in. I mean, if the more no's, the more questions being answered by the right people instead of fake book, it is important, as I say, fake book, because information being put out there is almost like more fear tactics. And if they can hear it here and have a buy-in of experiences of years of knowledge about what's about to take place, I think you would have more of a support connection versus the opposite. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. I don't think we have any more comment in the room, but we have one online, you said?
Yeah, Tim Frank raised his hand online. You can now speak.
And can you hear me now? I think I saw a nod. Terrific. So I'm Tim Frank, and I'm representing the Napa Solano Working Families Coalition. We've been tracking the Highway 37 project for quite some time because it's actually very important to a number of our stakeholders. We represent labor and community stakeholders, affordable housing advocates, some chamber interests, et cetera. And we're very interested in making sure that this project succeeds, that it is funded for every operation that you need so that you have the funding to complete the construction and that there's funding for transit across the gap. And we would like to see high levels of performance. We want to make sure that there's good level of throughput, that there's the system is optimized to promote fast travel times for carpools and transit, and there's equity between east and west in terms of the tolling. And I would note that some of the things that we've brought up in the past are actually completely on point to the challenges you face with finding funding for all of this, and for solving some of the critical challenges that we saw discussed earlier in the presentation, as for instance around the diversion. So we would love to see the carpool lane extended all the way across, so that it isn't just half the way. If you do that, that will actually ensure that carpools and transit are more reliably able to move quickly across the entire stretch, rather than having to contend with congestion halfway across. As for tolling, we actually would like to see tolling on both the eastern and western portion of the span, so that people from Marin County are actually paying sort of their share. And as for the tolling discounts, we would very much like to see discounts for blue collar workers and particularly for construction workers. And we think that this is not only a way to help make the tolling more equitable, but also an important way to address the critical challenge of providing a discount for the population that is most likely to divert. And that would help you mitigate the challenge of addressing diversion. And we've had support from many key leaders in this process. You know, we recall that Jay Bradshaw from the CTC told you that he had concerns about the proposed tolling approach. You've seen similar concerns raised by Assemblymember Wilson and by the mayor of Vallejo. And we think these concerns are important, and there are very good solutions to them, and we would love to work with you on helping shape those solutions. So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate your attention.
All right, thank you. Is that it for the online? All right, so we'll close the public comment. That brings us to number 5 on our agenda, which is future meeting schedule. Looks like next meeting is September 3rd in Marin County. Thank you for hosting Marin County. And then in December in Sonoma County. That brings us to item number 6, which are future topics. We have Bayland Restoration Project update coming up, and it sounds like there were some suggestions made today. We may be able to have some other folks in and get them in the agenda as well. All right. That brings us to number 7, which is our adjournment. Unless there's anything else from anyone on the board for the good of the order. Seeing none, all right, we're adjourned.